Entrepreneurially Thinking is a presentation of BioSTL and CET, Center for Emerging Technologies, with Rare Gem Productions, changing the way you view new ventures, including you on the pathway to success with your business in the St. Louis marketplace and beyond. Here's your hosts, Cheryl and Christy. Now let's get thinking entrepreneurially.
Welcome to the Entrepreneurially Thinking Podcast. Our goal is to energize your entrepreneurial mindset and create pathways for business success in the St. Louis marketplace and beyond. I'm Christy Maxfield, Director of Entrepreneur Development Services at the Center for Emerging Technologies.
Hi, and I'm Dr. Cheryl Watkins-Moore, Director of Bioscience and Entrepreneurial Inclusion for BioSTL. Happy to be here again with you, Christy.
Always, always.
Yes.
And we are here inviting our listeners to step with us outside of their comfort zones.
As we do it every week.
Every week. And as we do every week, we have guests joining us who are stepping outside of their comfort zone.
Yes.
I'll take the liberty of making that assumption. And so we're encouraging you, our listeners, to step outside of yours as well and carve out time to think about your opportunities and business goals in new ways. We want you to peel away any limitations you might have in the way you think about small business, working for yourself, or being entrepreneurial right where you are. You can stay connected to the Entrepreneurially Thinking community on all of your favorite streaming platforms and find us at entrepreneuriallythinking.com. Follow the hashtag EThinkSTL.
So while you are jogging, working out, or just sitting here listening to us, if you've been following our podcast, and hopefully you've already listened to episode 3.4.
Of course they have.
Yes, they have. Where we brought to you, the title of that episode was The Collective Conduits of the Chambers of Commerce. We had a great conversation with our friends Sarah Noski, representing the St. Louis Regional Chamber of Commerce, Vita Jeffrey and Marvin Steele, representing the new Heartland Black Chamber of Commerce, St. Louis, and Al Lee, representing the Asian American Chamber of Commerce, St. Louis. That was an awesome podcast. We had about 50 people in the room.
Just about. So lively conversation.
Very, very good conversation.
And yet there are still more chambers.
Yes.
Helping more people. So we're back again.
Exactly. And that's what we're doing. We're continuing our chambers conversation and have invited Segun Babalola, President of the newly formed St. Louis African Chamber of Commerce, and Gabriela Ramirez Arellano, Business Counselor at the Hispanic Chamber of Commerce, St. Louis. It has been a thriving institution here, serving Hispanics in our region since 1982. When we come back, we'll learn more about these organizations, how they support new and existing business owners in our region, the types of programs they offer, and their overall impact in our region. So as I always say, lots to cover, but stay listening.
Now here's Make It Happen with Keith Sales Pro.
According to leadership advisor Lee Colin, here's 4 things every leader should know. Number 1, the entrepreneur says the next deal is king, while the leader says the customer is king. 2, saying yes to one thing may mean saying no to something else. Measure what matters, then manage what you measure. 3, a blurred vision yields diffused efforts. And finally, 4, growth comes when you get off the treadmill of working in the business and step into the eagle's nest to work on the business. Today, remember, it can happen. It will happen. And together, we will make it happen.
Follow Keith Sales Pro on Facebook or Twitter at Keith Sales Pro, or visit his website at keithsalespro.com.
It can happen. It will happen. And together, we will make it happen.
So my name is Patrick Simangu, and I'm the principal and master instructor at Arch Taekwondo. And thinking entrepreneurially to me means, I think I'll go back to Taekwondo. It means perseverance. It means integrity. It means, commitment to whatever it is that you're doing.
Thank you so much for joining us in the studio today, Segun and Gabriela. We're also joined by 2 entrepreneurs from both organizations. We have Patrick here with us as well as Angel, and that we will be able to have conversation with them as well. But want to get started, Gabriela, if you can just introduce yourself, tell us a little bit about you I know that you've been doing work with entrepreneurs long before joining the chamber here in St. Louis. So tell us more.
Sure, and definitely thank you for having us. I'm Gabriela Ramirez Arellano, the business counselor at the Hispanic Chamber of Commerce. Moved to St. Louis last year. My husband and I started a restaurant in 2015. We decided to make the move back to St. Louis shortly before that because my mom had thyroid cancer, and it was important for us to be here with her as she went through the process, and, you know, the language access is still an issue. So as the oldest, and since I didn't have a job because I had my own business, it was my responsibility to come back. So I gladly did that. We decided to open the restaurant. In 2015, I stayed behind working with entrepreneurs in the Southwest Detroit area as well. So still working with immigrant and Spanish-speaking entrepreneurs.
Okay. Now, the restaurant, is it here in St. Louis or in Detroit?
It's here. It's in O'Fallon, Missouri. It's a Mexican restaurant.
And what's the name of it?
It's called Don Emiliano's. Okay, let me say it in Spanish because my kid would kill me. Don Emiliano's.
Just because we are going to butcher things doesn't mean that you have to butcher things.
Exactly.
Our listeners are accustomed to our pronunciation
Or
shortcomings.
non-pronunciation.
Our shortcomings.
So as you said, we were founded in 1985. The Chamber has been improving business opportunities for Hispanic firms and professionals since then. We are very excited about the work that we do and proud of our members and the work that they're doing to increase the economic development of the region.
And maybe you can introduce the member you brought with us
Oh,
today.
yes, I would love to. So I have here with me Angel Jimenez Gutierrez. His entrepreneurial journey is an inspiration to myself as a fellow restaurateur because Angel owned Señor Pique's in Baldwin for 16 years.
Oh, wow.
He also has a partnership with the Detailing Pros with his brother, also in Baldwin. And they recently decided to close the restaurant, and he is now venturing off into a couple of new directions. So he has 2 new businesses.
Wow.
So Profundiza is his consulting company that he is launching specifically because of the knowledge that he gained as a restaurateur for so many years to help
Fantastic.
restaurant owners in the St. Louis region.
Well, I've got some folks for you.
Yes.
So definitely, you know, his niche has been the Spanish speaking, but we definitely encourage him the
Food
knowledge
runs everywhere.
Exactly.
Okay.
And I'm so bummed that you closed the restaurant because
Yes, because I was like, we're going to be there.
well, and you're moving a little further west, so we need to like explore a whole new territory. But lest we get off on
Everybody
that
on the
tangent,
podcast knows we're foodies.
yes, which means we like to eat food.
Right.
It doesn't mean anything beyond that.
Right.
So, Sagun, can you introduce yourself and then introduce your guest as well? Then we'll actually hear from them themselves.
Absolutely, absolutely. Thanks for having me here. I'm really glad to be here today. So yeah, to introduce myself, like you said earlier, Shagun Babalola. I'm from Nigeria originally. Came here about 13 years ago. Came here for school, then settled in St. Louis because I do have a extended family relation here who lives here in St. Louis.
Okay.
So that's why I ended up in St. Louis region. And over time, with doing different odd jobs, and finally ended up working for the St. Louis Economic Development Partnership. Really kind of gave me a bird's eye view of the city and the potential of this city, and the fact that many immigrants don't know of the resources that this city has to offer.
Yes.
Through that, I was able to make connections with Vinco through the Mosaic Project, and just sitting down talking, and he really kind of encouraged the idea of the African Chamber of Commerce, and that's how this came about.
Yeah.
So the African Chamber of Commerce really is an organization, a non-for-profit that is here to promote African immigrants, businesses, and professionals. Give them business opportunities here in the city. Get them connected. Just connect the individuals. There are actually quite a number of Africans who live in this city. But
definitely.
but the only issue is many of them don't know each other.
Right.
And all of them are in different fields, and just the idea that you can share those resources and share your connections, and some of them have been here longer, some just recently came here, so sharing that wealth. So that's the idea.
It's the connectivity.
The connectivity, yes. And that was the idea. And so it kind of felt like, I was in the perfect place to be able to do this, but I needed a lot of help. So Vin with the Mosaic Project decided to support me, to help me do this. And I also have Jeff, who's also the president of Vitenda for Africa, who helps Kenyan immigrants in the North County region. So he's also a co-founder. And then we have Saba Askadam. She is of Ethiopian origin. She came here as a refugee, as a young girl.
Wow.
And she's always had this yearning to want to help the African immigrant population, and so she found the opportunity in doing this with us. So that's how we came about. And that's
How old are you guys? Are you like months old, or are you a year old yet?
We're months old.
Okay.
Months old. So officially, we launched as an organization in January.
Okay.
But we've been meeting as a group since July last year.
Wow.
Just brainstorming and trying to figure out whether this was something that
It's
we
a venture.
Do. Yes, absolutely.
You're bringing it to life. You have to iterate.
Startup.
Yes, we are a true startup.
Yes.
Absolutely. We do take examples from the Hispanic chamber and the other chambers around, specifically the ethnic-based ones. So just seeing how they work and what they've done over time, and kind of wanted to pretty much follow their footsteps.
Well, it was interesting. We had Ali here from the Asian Chamber. And I think what was so profound is that you would think that everybody is only serving their community. And it's very, very much about integrating and working together, and that's how you build economy. So it's really good that you're looking at the Hispanic Chamber as a point of reference, and hopefully the relationship is forming with that.
And the Asian Chamber of Commerce. And also because we can relate with them because they're fairly new also as us. So yes, absolutely. Hispanic has been there for ages.
Oh, they've got it all figured out.
Definitely not all figured out. We're definitely working on it. But I also feel that the ethnic chambers, we have to collaborate because we can relate. As an immigrant myself, I understand the struggles. So not just because I'm Hispanic or I'm African or Asian, they're not going to be sole issues just for me. So I think that also lends a hand for us to do additional collaboration and always connecting people even within chambers. I know Carlos, our president and executive director, always talks about conversations he's had with Al or with, different organizations throughout the city. So I think that it's that connectivity that you mentioned earlier that we automatically have a bond.
And you really are thinking globally. I think more so than any other business communities within our region, you're looking at what markets exist in the countries of origin that St. Louis entrepreneurs can tap, St. Louis established businesses can tap. And that's often a conversation we're not hearing, just in conversation, but it's definitely a conversation that's happening at the ethnic chambers.
And I think Al is, when we talk to him, especially with the Asian Chamber, having these trade missions and developing those ties to home countries, and developing those business ties, it doesn't just benefit that one community. Like he says, I'm looking for the African Chamber to do business in Vietnam or, all these different areas. So, Sagoon, you forgot to introduce your entrepreneur here.
I apologize.
Or we took you off on other conversations, so it actually wasn't your fault at all.
Yeah, I would let Patrick introduce himself real well because, he will do it better than me.
All right.
Well, so my name is Patrick Thimangu. And I am the owner and master instructor at Arch Taekwondo, which is a Taekwondo school in the city of St. Louis. It's the only one in the city, in Midtown.
Fantastic.
Taekwondo is a Korean martial art, and it's also an Olympic sport. And part of the reason I did this is because I've practiced Taekwondo for probably more than 30 years now.
I was going to say, most of your life?
No. Not most of my life, no. I'm older
you
than
look so young.
Thank you. And,
it's the Taekwondo.
That's the Taekwondo.
Credit Taekwondo to that. And in my previous life, for 15 years, I worked as a journalist. So this is kind of like a second act.
Wow.
And part of the reason I did this, which is an interesting story, is because in 1986, I got robbed. I come from Nairobi, Kenya. And I got robbed
in
Kenya, walking the streets. And I wanted to learn self-defense. And so I went to a Taekwondo school in Nairobi and started practicing Taekwondo.
Wow.
And
so out of need and necessity.
Exactly. So thanks to those robbers,
you have a thriving.
I'm teaching Taekwondo.
Who on some level consider themselves entrepreneurs.
Exactly. I'm teaching Taekwondo in the United States. Well, the other reason I actually seriously did this was because, and most of you know this, journalism is a difficult industry now. And I'd worked as a journalist for 15 years, worked for the St. Louis Post-Dispatch, worked at the Business Journal, and I'd worked at other places outside town. And I kept seeing my friends getting laid off, and I figured one day it might be me getting called and I'll lose a job. And I had a skill that I'd spent more than 20 years developing.
And you must have a passion around
And
it.
I have a passion for it. And I just took the gamble and in 2009 started, and it's been thriving ever since.
Well, staying in journalism could have been just as much of a gamble, given the uncertainties there. So we
Yes.
always try to remind folks that the job you have today may feel very secure, but it's not necessarily the case. So kudos to you for seeing the trend and then thinking about what else could be on your horizon. And Angel, you are a serial entrepreneur.
I was just, our heads, we share a brain. 'Cause
Yes.
I was just about to go there, too.
I'm just saying. So have you always been an entrepreneur? You've clearly spent a lot of time being one, but how did you come to become one?
Well, thank you very much, first of all, for the invitation, Gabriela, for inviting me, and you for having me here.
Absolutely.
I guess, yes, that's what they call me, right? That's the label that they
Yes,
can,
with serial
set up.
entrepreneur, which could be worse. It could be serial killer. I'm just saying. Those are the only two serials I know of right now.
But yeah, definitely. I saw my dad. He's an accountant in Mexico City. I come from Mexico City. And I love the fact that he had his own office.
So you come from a family of entrepreneurship.
I would say so, yes. And so it was very nice to see my dad grow up and being able to see him hang out with us. Any activity that we wanted to do, he was able to take off. And that is something that I think is what made me go on that route. My brother has been on the corporate business, and he's been working for big corporations. But in my case, I think I went on my dad's steps.
You followed his footsteps.
Yeah. So when I came to San Luis, it was in 2002, and Hacienda Mexican Restaurant gave me the opportunity to work as a cook. That's where I met my wife, and it's just, I saw the opening. I thought I could have a restaurant. I never in my life thought that I was going to own a restaurant.
Were you interested in cooking or catering before
No.
you did? So it was just Hacienda, huh?
Exactly. The atmosphere, management play a big role over there because they appreciated and value every single one of my efforts, and that plays a big part. So it is important for me to mention that. And so after 2 years, a lot of hard work, a lot of saving time, and of course, the one that is my wife now, purchased the same dream that I was selling to her. And so...
It always helps when the spouse buys what you're selling. It's always a help.
It is totally true. It is totally true. Because we talk about entrepreneurship, right? And my wife is a very shy person. And so I am the one with the ideas, but I can share with you that if she's not open a little bit enough, we wouldn't pull the trigger on any of these ideas.
That's like any marriage. What are you talking about? That's not just entrepreneurship. If the wife ain't on board, it ain't happening.
So I'm really glad she was.
Yes.
Exactly. And so we opened our first restaurant after 2 years of being in the country, and we lasted open for 13 years.
That's amazing.
That is.
Yeah. So in between, I got in business with my brother with the detailing pros and just trying to not have all my eggs on the same basket.
Yes.
Right? And so here is the deal. What I do now, between the restaurant consulting and the executive coaching or personal development programs that I try to bring to Hispanics, it has to do with helping them and providing them tools so they can find their own truth.
Yeah.
As owner of the restaurant, I experience all kinds of college kids going through my place, high school kids, and I was able to notice the constant disruptive beliefs and limiting narratives that they were sharing while just being there. And part of my responsibility that I thought it was the right thing to do was to motivate them or help them find, but I wasn't taking the right approach. So my background is in accounting, and so I noticed that I needed this extra on leadership. So I started preparing and reading about leadership and how to bring the best of your people. And it was until 2005 where I found the work of Byron Katie, and that's the tool that I bring to the people now.
Okay.
That's fantastic.
It is a tool that allows anybody to inquiry on the limiting narratives that we are constantly going through.
We're
in our
hearing.
mind.
Absolutely. Especially our young people.
Exactly. And so that's my new adventure. I've been doing this for a few months now, and everything is going well.
Fantastic. Well, we're going to take a quick break and come back because I think that's the commonality that I'm seeing, too, with Patrick's work, just that ability to shape how young people young and old, are seeing their possibilities. So let's talk about that more when we come back.
I got lots to ask.
Okay.
We are learning through Alive and Well STL together. In order to be physically well, we must also be mentally and spiritually well.
And you already have those skills. You just need to add some of the more positive ones because you've learned all the negative ones.
Join this movement at aliveandwellstl.com.
This is Segun Babalola, President of the African Chamber of Commerce. What entrepreneurial thinking means to me is being a risk taker, being able to go for your dreams, and not looking back.
So we have a lot to talk about, from the fact that I see these commonalities between our entrepreneurs in terms of how the businesses they're running today actually touch the lives of others and help them see greater potential, but also wanting to take a step back and ask them to reflect a little bit on becoming entrepreneurs. That, Angel, you had 2 years of experience in the kitchen and the support of your wife to go on out, and Patrick, you had years
a robbery.
A robbery, and then many years of experience as a practitioner of Taekwondo, correct?
Yes.
And really saw that, what some of us might see as our hobby or our exercise.
Exactly.
Right? But saw potential there. So could you start us off by reflecting a little bit on, what resources and tools you were seeking out as you entered your business life as an entrepreneur?
Okay. One of the difficult things about, business is turning a hobby into business is a very, very difficult thing. Practicing Taekwondo and running a Taekwondo school are different things. When you practice Taekwondo, you go to an instructor, you pay him or her, you practice in a school, you have no responsibility whatsoever.
Right.
As you rise up in rank, you might teach for him a little bit, but it's not your business. And so when I decided that I really, really wanted to start a business, I was lucky in one aspect. I'd worked as a business journalist. In my journalism career, for the last 6 years of my journalism career, I was a business journalist. And I'd covered the banking industry and I'd covered finance. And before I came to the United States to go to college, I'd worked in a bank. So I understood banking a little bit. And I understood money and finances and stuff like that. And so the first thing I did was I set out and wrote a business plan. And I think that was the most difficult thing to do. It took me almost 3 years to write a business plan that I thought was coherent, that I did all the market research alone. And so once that business plan was written out, it was easier to plot out things.
Now, but you also sort of had a network, too, of folks.
Yes, and I had friends, and I had friends who would check the numbers. I had a few accounting friends that I would tell them, take a look at these numbers if they make sense. Now, writing a business plan was, the narrative part was easy for me. The numbers part, I really, really needed the help of people who knew accounting and finance.
Yeah, for sure.
And then this was in 2009 when I opened my business almost at the height of the economic depression.
Yes.
Banks did not want to lend money to anybody. And of course I needed money to start, to build out my school.
Sure. So what did you do?
And so I talked to people and talked to as many people as I could. And what really, really helped me was to meet my landlord was also a developer. And over time, I really, really convinced him that Taekwondo was a viable business, that a martial arts school was something that was required, especially in the part of town where I am, close to SLU in Midtown, and that Taekwondo is almost healthcare now. We are living in a country where there's so many people that are overweight, stressed, especially professionals. So I was able to talk to him. So he gave me backing in the sense that he talked to his bankers to help me.
That's amazing.
That's that whole serendipitous collision.
Yes.
And that's preparation meeting opportunity.
Yes. Without that, I don't think I would have been able to start. And so I always tell people, if you're going to start out on a business, as you write your business plan, think about potential partners that might help you out.
That's very good advice.
Really good advice.
Can I interject for a little bit here?
Sure.
That's an example of where that social network is important, and which, with the African Chamber, we noticed that a lot of immigrants don't have that. Some of them are just coming off from the continent, from wherever the original country, and they don't have the same. They didn't go to high school here, so they don't know. They don't know.
Neither.
Yeah, they don't
What
know
high
people.
school did you go to?
Exactly. They don't have that same connection. For over time, for the fact that he had done journalism here, and he was able to really connect with individuals and different people. I'm probably sure that's how you ended up meeting his landlord. But there are other people who don't have that.
Right.
So that's the reason why the chamber is here, to bring that connection, to bring the individuals who are well established in this city, and not only Africans but the natives, the native born,
Absolutely.
and connecting them with this new immigrant who's an entrepreneur, and building that trust so that they can be able to start a business or whatnot. But that's a good example of where that is needed.
Fantastic.
Yes.
And does that resonate for you, Angel?
No.
No.
I was, well, of course.
Fantastic. Tell us what we're missing.
Okay, let me take that back. No, of course, I believe that it is important to have a business plan nowadays, right? But in my experience, I was 24 years old when I went into this adventure with the restaurant, and I did not have access, time, or interest on going to look for that kind of help.
You were a jump in with both feet kind of guy.
Exactly. So that's how I went in. Yeah, I'm sorry.
And I was going to say, because you jumped in 2 years after you were working at Hacienda, said, I'm going to open up my business. You had to have some support there. So what was that support as you built your business?
You mean financial support?
All of it.
Oh, well, I'll tell you. When I was 20 years old, that's when I opened my very first business with my dad in Mexico City.
There's more.
Exactly. We got a consulting firm, and we were in the Forex market. We were trading with foreign exchange.
Okay.
Right? And it was a very big business. So I remember very much me making the phone call and sending emails to brokers here in the United States who was going to be able to leverage the money for us. Because we could ask our investors for $1,000, but we needed 99,000 more to go into the market so we can bring the PIP up, right? And they say yes. I was 20 years old, and they never met me, and they say yes. And so that's how we started that one. So the reason why I say that is because then I come to, of course, the business ended up bad, a lot of bad decisions from my part and my dad. And that is why I moved to the United States, because I didn't really I wanted to change my life. I wanted to start all over. And so that's why I came here. So
by yourself?
Exactly, by myself. I came by myself.
I love that.
So 24, 20.
Well, I was 22 when I got here.
You've already got what some might say, a failure under your belt.
Correct.
But you've got this huge learning experience.
Correct.
And now not only are you going to do it again, but you're going to do it again in a whole new country.
Exactly.
And in a whole new market.
Exactly.
In the foods market.
In all of that.
The restaurant business.
But that created some kind of confidence, I have to say, because I was like, well, I was trading British pounds, millions of British pounds 2 years ago. How hard it can be to cut tomatoes.
How hard can it be?
I was going to say, you got some cojones.
Well, yeah, but it cost me a lot.
Everyone who does
cost me a lot. So, anyways, I felt very confident. And I worked very hard. My wife, as I told you, purchased the same dream, and we worked very hard. I'm talking about working doubles, not going out, saving. And so I called my dad. When we were ready, we got like $45,000 saved.
Wow.
In 2 years.
In 2 years.
That's phenomenal.
Yeah, because I wasn't just a cook. I became a buzzer. I became a server. I became a bartender, which created also the confidence to say, I can do it. I know it all.
But this is the whole thing of the confidence and being able to save like that. Because
to plan like Patrick did, to save like Angel did. Yeah, all of it.
Yeah. Okay, well, I'll finish the story, right?
Don't let us stop you.
I love him.
So I called my dad, and I told him, it seems that I need $25K more. Because I did my research on the place that I wanted and everything. So for my dad, it was very easy to let me borrow $25K because we've done other things together. And that's how Senor Pique got open.
Aha.
How does Senor Pique stay open? Because that's a lot of learning around the restaurant business.
And that is where, that's where it gets interesting. My confidence, right?
That translates on radio as tanked.
Right.
Exactly. Like, for example, I wasn't aware that you really need to work hard if you want 8% of your sales as your profit margin.
So harder than what you did before. Exactly.
So I was very much into the operations, but not on the administration side of the restaurant.
Right.
And it cost me a lot of money and bad experiences throughout the first 2 years of the business.
Well, being behind the scenes in cooking and bartending and serving is different, just like being in class and learning Taekwondo is different than running that business.
And also the leadership part of it, because can you imagine, I was 24, I thought I got it all. I wanted to be the cool boss.
Yeah. That is not the profitable boss.
And everything, yeah. Exactly.
That is not it.
So, thanks God, 3 years later, even knowing all this, now let me share what I feel worked for me. I was open to learn from every mistake every time. And so, yes, I did make mistakes, but I didn't allow my ego to get in the way every time.
That's called coachability.
Exactly. And so I listened, I learned, and I applied the changes that needed to happen. So 3 years later, we moved from a place that we were sitting 90 to the new place that we were sitting 280.
Wow.
Even knowing with all those. So that brought more mistakes, right? But I don't think your radio program
I got smiles and head nods from the entire room. But Gabriela, this must sound very familiar in a lot of ways. You've worked with entrepreneurs in Detroit. You've worked with entrepreneurs here. You are an entrepreneur. You know, all those mistakes, those learnings, the ability to adapt. You've seen this before.
Well, I've seen it and I've also experienced it. And, you know, you hear always about the ethnic entrepreneurial spirit that we just keep going. And I think a lot of that is necessity initially, right? You have to. You have to figure out what's going to work for me and for my family. And so working with small business owners is an adventure every day.
Yes.
Because everybody's at a different point in their journey of entrepreneurship. So some people are starting out. You know, my husband, much like Angel, decided, let's open a restaurant almost 2 years ago. And so I have a lot of headaches.
You purchased that vision too, huh?
I purchased the vision, I think, not willingly some days. And that's when I call Angel and I'm like, hey, I need this. But I think that that's also the connectivity of the chambers and the networking that happens. And more than anything for us at the Hispanic Chamber, I feel like it's a sense of familia and community. So I know Angel owns a restaurant. And even before I met Angel, I knew that he was a member and I was a member. And I was calling him from Detroit saying, hey, I need to find someone to service XYZ. I don't know if you remember that, but but that was me pestering you. I mean, those are some of the benefits that the Chamber, in our case, really has a lot of access to each other. And we have a lot of events. So we have our Café with Business the second Wednesday of every month, which is entrepreneurship and business-related topics once a month.
And where's that held?
It's held at our offices at the Chamber at 7:30 in the morning. So we try to also do things a little bit different and change it up. So our second Wednesday of the month at 7:30 in the morning, and then the third Thursday of every month is our business after hours for networking.
Oh, nice.
And we have food and drinks, and you don't have to be a member to attend. There's no cost.
Okie dokie.
Just
you
let
have
us
to
know.
bring value to the conversation, which I have no doubt you will, my friend. But
So much like Sagun mentioned also, too, is the networking piece also becomes an issue for some of our entrepreneurs, just in the sense that they don't know how to take advantage of it. American traditional business work habits are so different in all of our countries. And so being able to talk to people and network in a non-threatening environment, I think really gives entrepreneurs a certain confidence to then go out into the world. There's a lot of shadowing that happens at our chamber. If I have a procurement event that I'm invited to, I'll usually invite 5 or 6 people and say, hey, go with me so that you could see what it's like. Because a lot of times, especially if it's a newer entrepreneur, it'll be easier for them to attend when they know someone that will be there.
we call that being a wingman.
You're a wingman.
So we make that offer to entrepreneurs all the time. If you need a wingman so that you feel comfortable experiencing something new, that we can do that for you.
Right. And then even before I started, because I've only been at the chamber for a little bit over a year, Angel had already kind of started and laid the groundwork for our Spanish restaurant entrepreneurship focus. So we have a program called the Hispanic Restaurant Alliance, where he actually comes in and does training with our Spanish restaurant owners, or Spanish-speaking restaurant owners twice a year. And then we also moderate a Facebook group that really gives them access to each other at any time of day or night, where they could ask questions, they could share resources. We share a lot of resources.
I was going to say, there has been talk around developing a food cluster, you know, just like there's life science, there's IT here in the St. Louis market. We have a lot of people.
We see a lot of folks in
that are opening up or thinking about opening up restaurants who have no clue of what the hell they're talking about or what they're doing. So, on how you might have a built-in clientele of a lot of folks because it's not an easy business. Most people didn't even start catering.
And all of this connectivity and knowledge base and learning and mentors. So, Sagun, this is what you're trying to build.
Absolutely,
right?
yes.
Right. And so how did you and Patrick meet? Or Patrick, how did you meet Sagun?
So Jeff Sointayet, who's a co-founder of the African Chamber St. Louis, is a friend of mine.
Okay.
We've known each other because he's from Kenya as I am.
Uh-huh.
And so that's how we met. We met through him, and that's how I met Sagun.
That connection happened.
Yes, and one of the major reasons I wanted to belong to the chamber and to get involved with it is, entrepreneurship is a lonely business. Especially if you've worked before and you've worked in an environment where you had colleagues and you worked in an office and you had friends at work and you did things with people. When you get out to do your own business, you're alone.
Yes. So having a tribe is important.
It's you and your family, or you. Sometimes, a lot of times, you're alone in the initial stages. You need a network of some sort of people that you can talk to that are going through the same things that you're going through, that are going through the same struggles. And so I thought that was an important thing, and that's one of the things I've found is important for me to belong to. You belong to an organization of people who have the same things that and aspirations and dreams and objectives that you have.
And how they overcome their challenges and whatnot. Since we started, pretty much what we've been doing, we've been an event-based organization, really just convening people, and then kind of building capacity from there. That's really what we've been doing thus far. And we've noticed that, just the fact that people with similar backgrounds, talking about the same experience, same storyline, and then they see people who've made it,
Absolutely. You have to see yourself.
Yes, absolutely. And that really, really encourages a whole lot of people.
Absolutely.
And Patrick is really has been one of the backbones of the organization since it started. I mean, he's been really, really helpful. And in fact, he's an entrepreneur, so he already gets it, how to start something from scratch, So he kind of also at the same time we're learning from each other. It's a great experience.
Yeah, and I think that's why it was important for us to have Angel here because he's kind of come full circle. He's done a lot of businesses. He recently joined our board. He's on a couple of our different committees. He's a presenter for us. He's definitely a mentor for myself and my husband. I mean, he's figuring it out, and now he's able to help other people.
And give back.
Give back, right?
And
all those lessons that he had to go through and all the errors that he went through, I mean, they're benefiting the rest of us in the community now.
Absolutely.
Because he's like, okay, don't do that.
I've been there, I've done that.
Well, with entrepreneurs, we think that if we work in the business, we're going to get rich. Right? But we're not working on it. And sometimes those decisions that we make are based on, like Angel said, is our ego, the way that I think it should go. I like that vendor very much, but he's robbing you blind.
Right.
So
all of that
good thing, right?
So, and you guys have given our listeners a great gift by taking time out to share your stories, to explain how your respective organizations are being supportive and how your experiences as entrepreneurs can be roadmaps and models for others. So we want to make sure that everybody knows where to find you. So starting with Patrick, if you can share your name of your business again and the website and any other way you want people to find you.
Okay, mine is easy. It's Arch Taekwondo. And we are based at 3010 Locust, Midtown. Very close to St. Louis University, very close to Harris Stowe State University. And we have a beautiful website. www.archtkd.com.
Fabulous.
And we are open most days of the week, all days of the week, save Sunday. And most of our students, believe it or not, are adults.
I do believe it.
And we also offer classes for children no younger than 7.
Okay.
Great. So, Sagun, where can we find more about the African Chamber?
Absolutely. So we do have a website. It's called the AfricanChamberSTL.com. And we are on every major social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. And also, we are housed in T-Rex downtown.
Fantastic.
We have space over there. Currently, we do have some volunteers. So if you ever want to reach out to us and talk to somebody, there's always somebody to talk to.
So you're in T-Rex, and people can find you there. Are you there full time?
No.
Okay.
No, I'm not there full time.
So people can still get in touch with you via your email address, right?
Yes.
Okay.
All righty. Now, I'm not going to say a damn thing and just let Gabriela talk.
All right, and the Hispanic Chamber of Commerce, our website is hccstl.com. We're also on a lot of the social media platforms, so Facebook is one of our more popular one. On Twitter, I did want to just mention that if you speak Spanish and you're interested in the Spanish entrepreneurial thinking world, we do have an initiative called Cámara en Vivo. That is a live Facebook programming that we do on Tuesdays at 3 o'clock, all in Spanish. So if you guys ever want to participate, I'd love to have you guys.
Sure, if I can speak English. Otherwise, I'm going to be speaking Spanglish. Okay.
Hey, not everybody at the chamber speaks English or Spanish, right? So we're very bilingual, trilingual. We have people represented from a lot of different countries. And so, I mean, sometimes people think that the Hispanic Chamber is only for Hispanic people, but our membership is very diverse, very inclusive. We have nonprofits, corporations, and business owners that are a part of our chamber because sometimes they need help with outreach.
Absolutely.
Fantastic.
Yes. That's a good point, Gabrielle. Yeah, it's a really good point.
So in my case, if you want to get in touch with me, I guess I will choose my project of awareness coaching, and my website is www.awarenessinyou.com. My email is angel@awarenessinyou.com.
Wonderful.
There you go.
Well, thank you so much for making time in your busy schedules to join us
This has
and
been
share
a
your
fun
insights
conversation.
and
Yes.
humor and perspective. So
Yes.
thank you so much.
Well, thank you very, very much. You're very welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Changing the way you view new ventures, igniting your thinking about entrepreneurship. It's entrepreneurially thinking. Get connected and discover more. Visit our website for show notes, resources, information about our guests, upcoming events, and of course, all your favorite episodes. If you have any questions, be sure to leave them for us in the comment sections, and be sure to leave us a 5-star rating on iTunes. The best way to show love is to share. Let everybody know that you're thinking entrepreneurially. So visit our website, entrepreneuriallythinking.com. #eThinkSTL. Entrepreneurially Thinking is another positive production of Rare Gem Productions. Thanks for listening.